So tonight I am making homemade meatloaf and mashed potatoes. These are the ingredients. This is what I used to make it. Also, this is per my daughter's request. I was not trying to make dinner tonight, but I wanted to do something special for her because she had a pretty rough week in school. That's ground beef. I think it is 85-15. I use 2 eggs. I use 1 whole onion, small or large. I love onions in meatloaf. It makes it, to me. If you don't like the big chunks, you can dice them up smaller. I've even used my food chopper for the onions and peppers for the meatloaf. It just depends on who is eating it. But since I wasn't making this for the masses, just myself and my daughter, I just kind of did rough chops, I guess. I normally use a half a pack of Ritz crackers. I crush them up before I put them in there. I don't know what I was thinking about this time, but let's see what else. I use 1 pack of Lipton onion soup mix. Also liquid aminos. I love this stuff. Okay, first of all, I don't know how to pause this to tell the story, but anyway, I found out about liquid aminos through Tabitha Brown. Putting that in my meatloaf is a freaking game changer. That was a little bit of oregano. I also use Italian seasoning. And of course, onion powder and garlic powder. They go hand in hand. I also use salt and pepper. These are pretty much the seasonings that I use. I don't use the Italian seasonings all the time, but a staple in my household is a salt, pepper, onion powder, garlic powder, and then I just add or take away from there. I was actually a little glad that she suggested the meatloaf because one of the things I love about making meatloaf is the next day we have meatloaf sandwiches. So I'm already planning it out, honey. Oh my gosh. I am dicing up the garlic. I think that's probably 3 little cloves, I guess. I like to add at least a tablespoon of water to my, I guess, mixture. I like to add a tablespoon of water to it because for whatever reason, it seems like it makes it a little more moist to me. Also, a little bit easier to work with. If you guys can smell this, it is one of the most savory aromas because of the liquid aminos. I'm telling you, get you a bottle of that stuff. The next time you make meatloaf, honey, put it in there, at least a tablespoon. It's kind of like soy sauce, but more. Anyway, I'm shaping it up, getting it ready to put into a casserole baking pan. I like to just kind of like flatten it and make sure it's none of those big ridiculous like gaping holes in them. So I'll just kind of like make sure that my hands are a little damp. Sometimes if it winds up sticking, I'll just wet my hands under the faucet and finish closing up the spots. I bake that in the oven, roughly 375 for about an hour and 15 minutes. You can bake it at you can do it at 350. It's just going to take a little longer. I also bake it uncovered. I used to bake my meatloaf covered before, like years ago, but I'm like, well, I mean, it's going to turn out the same. I don't have to put foil over it. So I'm also boiling the potatoes because I'm making the homemade mashed potatoes. This is my topping. I use barbecue sauce, ketchup, and ragu chunky. I like a little mild sweetness. And the mild sweetness that I'm using just happens to come from the barbecue sauce. I'm telling you, don't knock it till you try it. Just mix a couple spoons together and see how you like it. You can top yours with whatever you top yours with. I also put onion powder and garlic powder in that mixture and a little parsley. Just waiting on the meatloaf to come out of the oven. I don't wait until it's I pull it out of the oven probably about 15-20 minutes before it's completely done. And you always want to get beef to at least a temperature of 165. I use a digital thermometer. I swear by those things. It takes all the guesswork out of it for you. You just stick the thermometer in the thickest part of the meat, and whatever it reads, you base your decision on there. I put this all over the meatloaf and put it back in the oven and bake it for another 20 minutes. I am making that's a cup of milk. I'm sticking a stick of butter down in it. I'm going to warm it up, because one thing that I hate about making homemade mashed potatoes is by the time you put that cold milk and butter in, the cold milk, and you're cooling off the temperature. So I like to warm the milk and the butter up together. So then that way you're adding in the hot on top of the hot, and it keeps it hot. Hot like fire. But yes, my daughter did want the mashed potatoes, and so that's what I'm doing. I start with a cup of the milk, and I can't remember how many potatoes I did, but I did enough. I really only use salt, pepper, butter in my mashed potatoes. That's really all you need. I used to do this thing where I did salt, pepper, garlic powder, parsley. And that's good if you want to do that. I used to do that. There's nothing wrong with that. I also used to, bake my potatoes and leave the skin on. Here, and I'm checking the temperature, trying to make sure that it's at least 165. And apparently it was. But anyway, that's the meatloaf, honey. It is absolutely delicious. It may not look like much, honey, but she does what she does. I actually have just a little bit of fat in the bottom of the pan. I'm going to dump it. But if you get a different type of beef, that 80/20, make sure you drain all of that fat off. These are the homemade mashed potatoes. They are incredible. I'm actually making my daughter's plate. Oh, that look good. If I do say so myself. I'm so thankful that I come from a family of cooks, a long line of cooks. We know our way around the kitchen, and I just love it. I love that. I love it. And I like to be able to just get in there on a whim and create the most amazing dish or meal for myself and my daughter. And the fact that she can tell her daddy, can you make this? I want this. It makes me feel good to be able to do that for her. I love the fact that I can do that for her, because she's growing up so fast. So I'm cherishing these moments, But anyway, I decided to throw some broccoli on there in the last moment. She didn't want the veggies, but I'm like, little girl, you're going to have some veggies. I try to do, have it balanced. Anywho, this is her